Hello everyone. Today's story is from the Random House book of nursery stories, retold and illustrated by Helen Craig. Little Red Riding Hood. Once upon a time, there lived a girl called Little Red Riding Hood, whose granny had made her a red cloak with a hood to keep her warm when she went out. One day her granny, who lived in a cottage on the far side of the forest, became ill. Little Red Riding Hood decided to take her some cakes. "Keep to the path and don't talk to strangers," said Little Red Riding Hood's mother. "I promise," said Little Red Riding Hood. She skipped through the forest. The sun shone and the birds sang. Little Red Riding Hood was happy. But soon the sunlight got weak and the forest grew quiet. Every now and then, Little Red Riding Hood heard a strange sound. Swish, 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 swish. Little Red Riding Hood drew her cloak tight around her. As she went on, the forest grew even darker and the trees grew bigger. Little Red Riding Hood felt very small. Swish, 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 swish. Little Red Riding Hood walked faster. Suddenly, she came to a clearing full of flowers. "Oh, I'll pick some for Granny," she said, forgetting her fear and her mother's warning. She darted from flower to flower until she had a big bunch. But when she looked up, she couldn't see the path anymore. She began to cry.
"Can I help?"
asked a voice behind her. Little Red Riding Hood turned and saw a wolf with a big, bushy tail that went swish, 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 swish. "Oh, yes, please," sobbed Little Red Riding Hood. "I'm taking these cakes to my granny who is ill. She lives in a little cottage on the other side of the forest, but now I'm lost."
"I know the cottage. I can show you the way," said the wolf, careful not to show his sharp teeth.
He took Little Red Riding Hood to the path.
"This is the way to your granny's house," he said.
And he disappeared into the forest. Swish, 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 swish. Now, this path was twice as long as the one Little Red Riding Hood had been on before. While she was taking the long, twisty way, the wolf hurried along the shorter path and got to Granny's cottage first. He knocked at the cottage door. The grandmother thought it was Little Red Riding Hood and called out, "Lift the latch and come in, my dear." When she saw the wolf, she fainted. The wolf put her under the bed to eat later. Then she put on her spare nightdress and cap and got into the bed to wait for Little Red Riding Hood. Very soon she arrived at the cottage and knocked on the door. "Lift the latch and come in, my dear," squeaked the wolf in a high voice. Little Red Riding Hood opened the door and came in. She looked hard at her granny. "Oh, Granny, what big ears you have," said Little Red Riding Hood. "All the better to hear you with, my dear," croaked the wolf. "Oh, Granny, what big eyes you have," said Little Red Riding Hood. "All the better to see you with, my dear," grinned the wolf. "But, Granny, what terrible big teeth you have," said Little Red Riding Hood. "All the better to eat you with," growled the wolf, and he leaped out of the bed and tried to catch Little Red Riding Hood. But she was too quick for him and ran out of the door. Round and round the cottage the wolf chased after her. A woodcutter, working nearby, saw the wolf chasing Little Red Riding Hood, and he ran over and knocked the wolf down with his axe. All that noise had woken up Granny, and she came out from under the bed. She hugged Little Red Riding Hood, and Little Red Riding Hood hugged the woodcutter, and they all sat down to enjoy the cakes that Little Red Riding Hood had brought in her bag.